Kenta, your iron rails have bound this empire together. I now stamp your genius into every coin of the realm.
The gold coin glinted in the Emperor's hand, freshly minted with a single word on its face. Genius.
With this coin, your majesty gives me not just a title, but the duty to keep all trade flowing. I accept.
But the ceremony shattered when the throne room doors crashed open and a breathless courier stumbled inside.
A rival line. After all the heads I have broken to secure your monopoly, who dares challenge it?
A second railroad? Built by a woman? Impossible. No one in this world has that knowledge.
The messenger's report was precise. A red-haired engineer, green eyes like shattered glass, and a locomotive that rivaled the Iron Tide.
It's been years since anyone gave me a challenge, but this feels different. Personal.
The Duke of Rails had crushed every merchant guild and bought every iron mine. But a ghost from his past was rising. But this throne room glory was not where his story began. It started with a disinheritance, a rotting warehouse, and a secret that would turn a medieval empire upside down. A maglev test carriage derailed in Tokyo, and Kenta Tanaka's life ended in a storm of sparks and pain. He woke in a strange body on a cold stone floor in the year 1423 of a crumbling empire.
You are useless. I took you in out of pity, and you can't even carry a sack without dropping it.
Disinherited again. The memories of this body flood in. Humiliation, decay. This warehouse reeks of death.
The merchant guilds bleed me dry. My caravans take 3 weeks to the port, and half the grain spoils. We'll be beggars by winter.
20 miles in 3 weeks, with a steam locomotive. I could do it in an hour. Less.
He stumbled outside to the mine head and the river port, a muddy road littered with broken axles and dead horses, iron ore piled high at the source, empty barges at the destination. A gap of 20 miles and 1,000 years of progress.
If I had a single rail line here, I could move a kingdom. But I am penniless, disowned. Less than nothing.
Yet the man who built Japan's fastest trains began measuring the distance with his eyes, a cold smile forming as the impossible suddenly seemed inevitable. That night, by the light of a single tallow candle, Kenta began sketching a machine that did not yet exist in this world.
The pistons must be double-acting. Cylinders here. Boiler pressure calculated for the iron's tensile strength. This will work.
He scavenged scrap iron from the warehouse and built a tiny steam model. A miniature boiler, small enough to hold in his palm.
What now, boy? Another scheme to waste my time while my debts pile up.
Watch, uncle. Fire turns water to steam, and steam lifts this stone. Multiply that force, and you have a wagon that needs no horse.
Tricks and toys. You think I'll sink my last copper into this madness? We'll be the laughing stock of every guild.
2 miles of iron rails from the mine to the port. Build it, and your ore reaches the barges in 1 hour, not 3 weeks. You'll corner every contract.
I am already bankrupt, Kenta. If this fails, we'll both be in the gutter, with no house and no name. Fine. I'll give you enough coin for a 2-mile track and 1 engine. But if it doesn't work, you'll never show your face in my house again.
With a handful of silver and a head full of secrets, Kenta began the first railroad of a medieval empire, already seeing the empire he would someday own. He hired the hungriest men from the mine, promising silver if the tracks were laid before frost.
They've never seen a rail. Teaching them to measure with knotted rope feels like coaxing iron from stone.
The iron came from small furnaces, every pour a gamble, rails cracking until Kenta adjusted the carbon.
Heat it again! The bloom must be cherry red, or the flange won't form.
A village priest cursed the devil road. The workers trembled until Kenta strode forward.
Superstition. The force moving a kettle moves that piston. If they fear fire, they'll never ride.
Under a moonless sky, they found spikes torn out and rails twisted, only hoofprints in the mud.
Horse cart drivers. I can't prove it, but they'll watch from the dust when my train passes.
Despite sabotage, they hammered together the locomotive, boiler, firebox, and the world's first drive wheels. They named it Iron Tide. At dawn, Kenta lit the fire, and the first steam promised either glory or ruin. The Iron Tide's wheels shuddered and gripped the rail. Steam screamed as 20 tons of ore lurched forward. In 1 hour, the locomotive thundered into the port, its load leaving the crowd in stunned silence.
20 tons in 1 hour? Kenta, we'll be richer than kings.
Within a week, merchant guilds descended like vultures, led by guild leader Orin.
Name your price, boy. Let us lease your fire wagon, and we'll triple your investment.
The Iron Tide is not for sale. I'll build every line myself and charge the tolls. Sell the technology. I am building an empire, not a shop.
You arrogant brat. We'll crush your little experiment with caravans. You'll regret this.
By next spring, your horses will be pulling plows, not trade.
The first rail contract was signed that day with the mine itself. Kenta's monopoly had taken its first breath. Within 3 years, Kenta's rails spiderwebbed across the kingdom. City-states begged for a station, each contract a golden chain.
Every toll is a nail in their old caravans. They can't compete with steel and steam.
An arrow struck his carriage one evening, a paid blade from the ruined carters. Kenta survived, unharmed and unmoved.
Bolt iron plates on the next passenger car. Let them waste their arrows.
His workshops forged metal shields onto every wagon. The trains became fortresses on wheels, and his enemies grew silent.
They tried to kill a dead man. I have already been buried. Now I am the rails.
In a dark tavern, the ruined barons gathered. Guild leader Orin raised a cup, poison dripping from his voice.
We will form a coalition. Hire an engineer who can match his devilry, or burn every rail he lays.
The displaced league was born that night, drawing a line of hate across the map of the empire. By the third winter, Kenta controlled 300 miles of rail. He was richer than kings, but enemies now moved as a single shadow. A royal courier arrived at the rail baron's estate, bearing a summons sealed with the emperor's eagle.
The emperor himself? Not a demand, but a request. He wants to anoint the serpent he cannot behead.
In the capital, a grand ceremony was held. Emperor Alaric placed the heavy chain of a dukedom on Kenta's shoulders.
With this dukedom, you are part of the realm's blood. Your rails feed the empire, but a starving horse kicks.
He's telling me not to crush everyone, but competition is waste. The empire needs one spine, not two.
After the ceremony, the emperor drew Kenta into a private study, where maps and ledgers spoke of unrest.
Your monopoly has birthed a coalition that could spark civil war. If you push further, you force me to choose sides.
Your Majesty, I only build what the merchants demand. The caravans are obsolete, not my doing. He fears chaos, but he won't act unless I force his hand. The League is nothing without a real engineer.
So Kenta left the palace a duke, richer in title and danger. The empire had given him a crown, but his enemies had found a voice. In a distant province, a red-haired woman lit a rival steam engine. The sky turned black with her fury.
DB Fernverkehr taught me more than they ever imagined. Now I'll teach this monopoly.
The displaced league flocked to her, offering gold and resources. Guild leader Orin himself knelt at her side.
Break his iron grip, and the empire will owe you a throne.
I don't want a throne. I want to prove that technology should be shared, not hoarded.
Months later, in Kenta's map room, a spy slid a sketch across the table.
This isn't medieval tinkering. These are stress calculations I learned in Tokyo. Where did she learn the double-acting cylinder? It's impossible unless...
Kenta's face drained of color, a realization colder than the Emperor's warning. He was not the only reincarnator. The game had changed. Now it was a war between two minds that did not belong to this century. The night after the spy's report, Kenta sat in his workshop and began a different kind of railroading.
She'll need iron, coal, and steel. If I control the ore, I control her locomotive's heartbeat.
Agents were dispatched across the continent, posing as independent investors.
Buy every iron mine from here to the coast. Use the front companies. No one must know.
Pails of gold crossed palms in shadowed rooms, and deeds turned over silently. Within months, A map on Kenta's wall bloomed with red marks. Every major mine crossed out, owned by him.
Without cheap iron, her rails will cost 10 times more, if she can lay them at all.
At Risa's construction site, workers stood idle. Iron shipments had vanished. Prices spiked tenfold.
Hunger will force her to deal, or her backers will abandon this losing war.
But a pigeon arrived with news. Her line still crawled forward, using scrap and substitute metals, and her workers sang her name. Desperate for iron, Risa marched into the capital's main square and seized the Empire's attention.
Duke Kenta, I challenge you to a rail race. 2 locomotives, 1 route, winner takes all.
The words echoed to the palace, where Emperor Alaric saw a chance to end the economic war with spectacle.
Let the race decide. The victor shall have the imperial blessing for the rail monopoly.
In his workshop, Kenta read the proclamation. His smirk was cold, calculating.
A public race? She's playing into my hands. While all eyes watch the tracks, I'll tighten my iron grip.
Kenta arrived in the square, his presence silencing the crowd. He accepted without hesitation.
I accept. When my iron tide crosses the finish line, you will sign your line over to me and disband.
And when I win, you will dissolve your tolls and share your technology with every city.
The Emperor set the date, the first day of spring. The Empire held its breath, and the tracks became a battlefield. At dawn, the 2 locomotives thundered forward, steam and smoke tearing the morning sky.
The engine's shaking, warping. This iron is brittle. It'll shear before the bend.
Her train screeched to a halt, its boiler hissing like a dying beast. Kenta's iron tide crossed the finish line to a roar of applause, his smirk carved in stone.
Perfect. They'll blame her backers for poor materials, not my iron stranglehold.
From the crowd, a gaunt miner stumbled forward, blood at his lips pointing at the Duke. It was Kenta. He bought every mine and starved us. That woman's engine died because he choked the iron. The Emperor rose, his face ashen. The crowd's admiration curdled into disgust.
You lied to me, Kenta. You starved a rival and broke my trust. You are no genius. You are a tyrant.
For the first time, Kenta had no retort. His empire of rails now stood on a foundation of lies. The Emperor commanded a private summit. In a stark chamber, the 2 engineers faced each other with no crowd to hide behind.
You had everything. Why starve my line? We could have built together.
She's angrier about the betrayal than the loss. That's respect. Or potential.
You betrayed everything a modern engineer stands for. Progress, not monopoly.
You speak of progress, but you don't belong to this age either. You died in Germany, didn't you?
How does he know? No one knows about Berlin.
I recognized the stress calculations on your sketch, DB Fernverkehr. You are like me.
If you knew I was a reincarnator, why try to destroy me instead of?
Because this world has no place for 2 gods of iron. 1 empire, 1 vision.
The silence that followed was thicker than steam. Neither would blink, but the ground had shifted beneath them.
1 empire, 1 vision. We could connect 3 continents. Your monopoly is a cage, not a kingdom. Together, we could build a rail bridge across the narrow strait, unite markets that have never traded.
She thinks in decades, not seasons. I've been fighting her like a war, but this was never about her. I never wanted to destroy you. I wanted to see if you could survive me. You did. Merge with me. 50-50 control of every rail on this continent and the next.
A merger? After you sabotaged me? How can I trust anything you offer?
Trust will come from shared control. I offer you half the iron mines and a seat at every table.
If I accept, there's no going back, but separate. We'll just destroy each other.
This isn't about trust. This is about building something neither of us can build alone.
Risa did not take his hand, but she did not leave. The war had found its first tentative truce. That night, Kenta paced his workshop alone. The merger document lay unsigned, a dagger on the desk.
Giving half my empire to a rival who should despise me. Yet without her, the empire might tear itself apart.
Meanwhile, Risa faced her coalition. Orin's voice thundered in the chamber.
Trust, Kenta. The man who choked us with iron, He'll swallow your line whole the moment you sign.
I see no alternative. We're bleeding silver. Every month, we delay. His rails strangle another caravan.
The door swung open. Kenta strode past the frozen barons and stopped before Risa.
The merger alone won't erase the hate between us. Trust must be absolute, so I offer more.
He dropped to one knee and from his pocket drew a simple iron ring, forged from the same metal as the first rail he ever laid.
Marry me, Risa. Let our union be the final spike, unbreakable, in business and in life.
The chamber held its breath. Risa stared at the ring, then at the man who had been her enemy, and said nothing.
I accept, Kenta. Not for the silver, but for the future you finally see. The displaced league is dissolved. From this moment, we build together or we are built over.
Days later, the capital square overflowed as they announced the union.
From this day, our rails are one. K&R Rail will connect not just cities, but continents.
I bless this union. May your iron bond hold stronger than any kingdom.
The mints struck a new coin, K&R, with genius and union on opposite faces.
She doesn't yet know how deep my iron grip truly goes. But I will tell her, in time.
The narrow strait is the key. A rail bridge there opens 2 continents to our freight.
Then let's give the Empire a bridge that will outlast us both.
The alliance was born, but the true test lay across the strait, where iron and ambition would meet the sea. Late one evening, as bridge blueprints covered the table, Kenta rolled out a second, hidden map.
Before you, I swallowed every iron mine on this continent. This map is the true source of my strength.
You bought every mine, even the one in the Arkan Valley that starved my line. That was you.
Every one. I had to ensure no one could challenge the rail. Now it can ensure no one can starve us.
This is monstrous, but brilliant. Without this stranglehold, we'd never have the capital for the bridge. No more secrets, Kenta. If we're truly partners, every ledger, every mine, is open to both of us from now on.
Agreed. From this moment, the iron monopoly becomes our joint arsenal. No locked doors, no hidden vaults.
The map of red crosses became a shared war chest. Its cold ruthlessness finally turned toward creation.
With this much iron, the Naros Bridge won't just span a strait. It'll span an age. Let's start.
The last wall between them dissolved, and the largest engineering project in history finally had the iron to match its ambition. For 3 years, they sank iron pylons into the seabed, each beam a promise across the narrow strait.
The tidal currents here would snap a wooden ship in half. Our iron must be anchored to bedrock.
My design for the arch supports will distribute the lateral stress. Even a storm tide won't shear them.
Then came the night the sky turned black, and the sea roared like a wounded god.
The central pillar is cracking. If it goes, the whole span collapses into the strait.
Get the emergency chains hooked to the anchor stones. We'll reinforce from the shore until the tide passes.
Side by side, they hauled chains and braced the cracking pylons until dawn revealed the damage and the miracle. When the last rail was spiked, the iron tide rolled across a bridge that had no equal in history.
We didn't just build a bridge, Risa. We built the spine of a new world.
2 continents were now linked by iron. The third still lay beyond the horizon, but the Union had proven it could move mountains. 10 years later, the final tunnel through the Thalian Mountains opened, completing the transcontinental rail. Trains from 3 continents steamed into a single hub, a marvel never before seen by any civilization.
Kenta, Risa, you have stitched the world together with iron and fire. The Empire is forever transformed.
Your Majesty, the rails are now open to every border. Trade no longer knows distance.
For the first time, a merchant in the West can reach the Eastern silk markets in a single week.
The Emperor lifted a gold coin, freshly minted, stamped with a design that would echo through the ages.
Henceforth, all coins of the realm shall bear the mark of your union. Genius on one face, union on the other.
The crowd roared as the coin flashed in the sun, a symbol of the monopoly that had become an unbreakable partnership.
We started with a 2-mile track and a desperate uncle. Now we hold the pulse of 3 continents.
But the true foundation of their empire was not the rails beneath their feet, but the bomb they had forged in the furnace of rivalry. The ceremony reached its zenith as Kenta stepped forward, his voice silencing the assembled empire.
20 years ago, I was a forgotten nephew in a rat-infested warehouse. Tonight, I stand here because of one woman. She challenged my monopoly, my methods, and my soul. And in saving my empire, she saved me. Therefore, the word geniuses on every coin will no longer mean me alone. It means us, our union, our railways, our future.
He lifted her hand, the iron ring gleaming, and the roar of the crowd shook the pillars.
He finally shared the light. Not the cold genius I fought, but the partner I almost destroyed.
The Empire is yours, together. May your rails never rust.
A new coin was struck then, and there, a joint unveiling before the world. It showed two rails converging under a single banner of steam, the emblem of KNR, the mark of a united age. As the sun set, the old enemies turned partners stood side by side, and the age of the Iron Union began. Later, in the quiet of their shared study, Kenta drew a worn paper from his desk.
This is the original list. Every mine I bought in secret before I knew you. It was the most ruthless act of my life. Starving your line was part of it. I need you to know everything before we fully become one.
This is the wound I felt, written in his hand. He's giving me the weapon to hate him, but asking for trust instead. I won't pretend it didn't hurt. But without this ruthlessness, we'd have no bridge, no union. I forgive you, Kenta. I fell in love with the genius, but I'll marry the man who learned to share his empire.
She took the one weapon that could destroy me and turned it into forgiveness. I am finally whole.
He folded the list into her hand, and she placed it in the hearth, watching the last secret turn to ash. Then, without a word, they closed the distance that years of war had carved, and let the kissed as the embers glowed. The final spike was not of iron, but of two hearts finally beating as one. Years passed, and the grand station echoed with the laughter of children who knew only the age of iron. Two small figures, one dark-haired, one fiery red, raced each other to the arrival boards, their parents' legacy alive in every whistle. Trains from 3 continents steamed in on time, and the world had forgotten what a caravan looked like.
We did it, Risa. Not an empire of copper, but a world of iron that moves together.
We built more than rails. We built a door between ages, and we'll walk through it together.
On the desk behind them lay a weathered blueprint of the first 2-mile track, alongside the deed to every mine. The genius who once ruled alone now ruled with a partner, and the empire was stronger for it. Their children would inherit rails, not ruins, and a world where distance was no longer fate. The whistle of the Iron Union echoed not as a command, but as a promise kept, and at the heart of it all, 2 old rivals stood side by side, no longer needing words to know they had built forever. The genius coin spun into the air, a final spark of the age of iron. It caught the light of the setting sun, a world held in a single circle of gold. Then it landed on the master map, where 3 continents glowed beneath the rail lines, genius on the face, union on the reverse. The coin rested at the heart of the empire it built. Trains steamed across mountains, bridges, and straits, a living network of iron and ambition. And from the distance, the whistle of a locomotive echoed, carrying the promise of a world forever connected. The map stretched to the edges of the known world, and the rails never ended. A shadow passed over the coin, but the engraving remained, as immutable as the bond that forged it. The screen faded to black, the whistle growing softer, then silent, and the age of the Iron Union became legend.